So we're back talking with Paul Sutliff, an educator, author, podcaster, blogger, and just an all-around fun guy to talk with about politics, Islam, and various other things. So we were getting ready to transition into the discussion on COVID, right, Paul?
Yes, thank you.
And just FYI, I don't know if you caught the comment, but people are saying prayers for you out there and thanking you for being brave and doing what you do. So just let you know that that's how our viewers are reacting to you. So, COVID. What do you got to say about COVID? This ought to be interesting. And you know, I mean, you obviously, from what I know about you, you're going to talk about some personal history. So this is not just fanciful, issues or problems that somebody sees. This is something Paul is dealing with on a daily basis, especially in the dictatorship of Cuomo land there. So
I call it the Kingdom of Andy. I live in the Kingdom of Andy, and the Kingdom of Andy is very frustrating. I don't know. I really would like to know what it's like to live under a Republican. I can't remember that at this point. We've had several governors arrested here in New York State by the federal government, which was good for us. We had to have people arrested who were usurping their power. And we now have several kings across the country, would-be kings, people who have made themselves kings, due to the inadequacy of people who are stupidly giving up their legislative power and imbuing the governors with kingdoms and fiefs. And this is scary. In this kingdom of Andy that I live in, things are very frustrating in the sense that the governor King Andy decides that COVID-19 doesn't come out at dark and when it's dark. No COVID. So you must stay, so you're safe because you can stay home and don't worry about it. You should stay home when it's dark. So he has closed businesses, bars. It's funny because just the other day I went out with my girlfriend and we wanted to go out for steak, and her favorite place was closed by COVID-19 restrictions. But if you walk across the street, the COVID-19 did not close the one across the street. So King Andy has decided that you can go across the street for a steak, but you can't have it on this side of the street. Oh, I mean, it's actually kitty corner. I mean, across. So one zip code ends across in that area, so that particular place has to close.
So COVID really is intelligent because it knows where it can and can't go.
It's so. What I want people in New York State to do, I want all business owners, and I don't care if King Andy can blame me. I don't care. The truth of the matter is this: you are all Americans, you idiot business owners. Stop allowing the governor's edicts to tell you whether you can open or not. We're Americans. I'm sorry. We don't live in a kingdom. It's time to wake up. I think this insanity is extremely dangerous in the acceptance of it. I find severe issues with this. Now, the place we went was outstanding. The food was outstanding, and the service was outstanding. It was worth every penny of it. But to say that we couldn't go to my girlfriend's favorite place, that wasn't great. I mean, it would cost us the same amount of money, but they got business simply for that reason. That's not a good thing.
It's really sad how businesses across the country are kowtowing to this politically correct BS that's going on. And, everybody says science. You know what? I think that a lot of the science is being ignored because it's not about science, it's about control.
So here's the truth about COVID-19. I beat the major news networks by announcing that COVID-19 was indeed a bioweapon developed in China in Wuhan by a week and a half.
Oh, really?
I listened to Brad Johnson, and I listened to what Rare Foundation puts out. Now, they put out two pieces. Brad had specific information, and Rare Foundation had a video on it was a Da Vinci show from Italy, and they were talking about a particular bat virus that was being communicated to humans. That Wuhan lab was, they didn't say Wuhan, but they did say a Chinese lab, was bragging about how great it is that they developed this. And the Italians were extremely concerned and talking about ethical issues that for some reason, they were unable to figure out in China. So yeah, okay. Now, fast forward, that was 2015, by the way. Fast forward 5 years, and look what we have. So now, I shared that. Now,
and is it Levy that, or Lev that, remember the individual you had on one of your talks there about politics in New York? Is that the same individual?
Brad Johnson, I have not had on. I do have a lot of different guests lately, but Brad Johnson, I'm trying to get on to talk about a few other things, and he's somebody I've actually met in person and have a lot of faith in, and I'm extremely thankful that he's on our side, because he's a retired station chief of the CIA. He's not your... When I think of this man, I don't think of, here's an office jockey, he knows how to do the paperwork. No, this is a man who you stand next to and you praise God that he's on your side, because he's incredibly scary. That's what we need working for us and getting the truth out. He's the head of American intelligence reform, and I can't say enough nice things about this man. But he got the goods and shared that out, and we had people telling us that this is not true, not true, not true. And then all of a sudden, they started repeating what people started repeating what we were saying. Brad Johnson got it out first. And, it took them a few weeks about a week and a half to figure it out. I just sat there laughing. I was saying originally that it was a biohazard thing created. The reason was that children were not getting sick, but the elderly were. That contradicts standard protocols for when things happen with communicable diseases. It's usually the children and the elderly who die first. When they exclude one, something is genetically changed. So that's where things started for me on this. I was actually out of work at that time due to an injury. So here I was home for March and April. April 20th, I returned and I had to do Zoom classes. I hated that, every bit of that. I had one child show up out of all my students, and I had to pass some just because I still can't understand that. You can pass people for never showing up to class. I don't know. But that was
a problem in schools. Like I said, my wife teaches online, so.
Yeah. I have issues with that. But the COVID-19, let's talk about what King Andy has done here in New York State. I'm hoping to God that nobody else is suffering. If there's any one thing I can ask for your prayers for, it's this. Please pray for the dethroning of King Andy. Please pray that our senior citizens can be freed. King Andy has imprisoned all of our seniors in elder care. Why do I say that? Well, when COVID-19 was called a pandemic, which it isn't, when it started to be called a pandemic, they started to in New York State, they let prisoners go free. They let pedophiles on the streets. Oh, you could go to the hotel and stay there. It's safer. Explain to me how it's safer in a place that you can easily walk out and meet people. Yeah, that it is when you're restricted and held in a restricted environment is a huge difference. In fact, nobody was actually getting sick where they were.
It's gone by the wayside. You don't hear people talking about this anymore, but it should still be at the forefront. How do we lock up senior citizens and allow criminals to get out of jail? You got them in an environment. You want everybody to social distance. I mean, you got people in an environment where you can, to some extent, control that social distancing, but you're going to let them out. Criminals out because of COVID. But you don't
there's no sanity in this. We just have King Andy's rule, and that's it, and that's the truth of it. So here's what he did to the elderly. My father went into assisted living a year ago, and we'd visit him and spend lots of time with him, and because he's someone who loved us all our lives, regardless of whatever stupid things we've done. My father is a retired teacher. I became a teacher because of his great love of education. I love teaching. I saw that. I had him as a teacher. But I'm not allowed to touch my dad. I'm not allowed to see him right now unless it's through a window. So wait a minute. You can be a prisoner and get conjugal visits, sexual contact. But you can't, as an elderly person, touch your loved ones. So we treat prisoners in New York State with more care than we do the elderly. I have serious problems with King Andy. King Andy tried to kill off our elder population in elder care. He sent COVID-19 infected patients to nursing homes with 14 to 15 body bags. This is where I lose my temper. 15 body bags with COVID-19 patients. I mean, it's pretty clear what he was hoping to do.
Right. At the same time, he sent these with the patients as they were being transferred.
Yes. When I first heard this, I did check to see if I was clearly hearing this, if I was getting accurate information. There are multiple nursing homes that communicated they received 15 body bags with the COVID-19 patients. Where my father is being cared for, they refused to allow this to happen. Now, it wasn't until late August that we were told we could actually see our father again. So what we had done was set up a portal so we could actually see him. That worked until, when you have someone elderly, one of the reasons my father was there is lack of understanding of where he is and sometimes falling and other things. So my prayers go for this great man who invested so much in me. But I can't hold my dad. I can't put him in my arms because King Andy thinks non-infected people infect uninfected people who don't have this.
Right.
And
your father has Parkinson's, is that correct?
Yes, he has Parkinson's. Yeah, we went from him having difficulty walking and all of a sudden couldn't walk, and they gave him a drug, and all of a sudden he was like racing down the hall. But yeah, and Parkinson's comes with hallucinations. Now, Hillary has this also. If you go back and you look, you'll remember her doing all this falling. There was actual doctors in Florida who actually commented on some of these facial tics that she was having, where she looked like she was really a nutcase. But the doctor actually came out and revealed that these were side effects of Parkinson drugs. And I still find that fascinating. So to think about, my father's going through this, and I didn't know hallucinations actually come with Parkinson. So, this is another reason why that doctor actually explains that it would be extremely dangerous for national security to have someone with Parkinson's in the Oval Office, which, again, I thank God that Hillary did not win. Can you imagine someone with hallucinations being the president of the United States? Yeah. They would have had to, Amendment 25 is one thing, but no, I don't even want to think about who would have been her VP. Maybe it would have been Joe Dementia. I don't know. But yeah, it wouldn't have been good. It's just not good overall the way I look at it. But yeah, we're here in New York State. We have King Andy who decides what COVID-19 can and cannot do. Then we have Prince Mikey Bloomberg who hates Jews. He has been persecuting Jews in New York City for I don't know how long. But here's the other thing. We're all laughing about King Andy. I don't know if you've seen any Facebook or Twitter post where there's pictures of King Andy looking in people's Thanksgiving dinners. Because you were allowed to have 10 people to a Thanksgiving dinner. But if you had a death and you were mourning somebody, you could have 20 people in your house. So what people were sending out were pictures of their family. There might be 20 people there, and we're celebrating the death of a turkey. We're mourning the death of this turkey. I should say, not celebrating, but we're mourning the death of this turkey. And I never saw people laughing about the death of the turkey, or I did see them smiling.
Yeah.
But oh great. So they were mourning the death of the turkey. So that's what they were posting. Yeah, we're here mourning the death of the turkey so we can have a gathering. And this is what had to be done. It's something when edicts are given and no sheriff in your state will it comply. King Andy decided to tell all sheriffs that they must arrest people for having more than 10 people in their house. Well, again, no sheriffs in this state, in the land of lib, not one sheriff would follow that instruction.
That's actually a very good thing to hear, that your sheriffs hopefully understand the Constitution and their responsibilities in it.
We're in Libland. I don't know how true. I think most people in law enforcement tend to be conservative. I have met a few liberals. I have met, unfortunately, more people who are in law enforcement, I will say, and emergency responders who are not well informed. And that kind of bothers me. I can't help them become more informed and then point them to good information places like this network.
Right.
My biggest concern with everybody is to get yourselves informed. You have to be a lover of information. You actually have to go and get multiple sources. I'm not saying don't listen to CNN. I'm not saying don't listen to Fox. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying take each one of them and then look for where they get their information. I do that. I like Jihad Watch, but I love that they actually give where they get their information from. So I go straight to that. And then I will share out those original stories unless I see something that Jihad Watch has written. They have some incredible writers. Andrew Herod, Dr. Andrew Herod, who's part of our Blog Talk network, which is our Global Patriot Radio Network on BTR. Writes some amazing stuff. There's Christina Douglas. I can't think where that. Christina is a Canadian who actually does some incredible work. Her writing, Christine Douglas Williams, her writing is just, it's powerful. It's crazy. So I just say you definitely want to, if you go to Jihad Watch and you look at some of the articles that she writes, you definitely want to pay attention. But I like to go to the original articles. My purpose is as a researcher, I want to know if I can go there and get more material. This is what we have to do today because we can't trust what we're being told. That is an all-important thing. I say I will tell people to go to Jihad Watch, pay attention to Christine Douglas Williams, pay attention to Andrew Herod and many others. And I'm not saying Robert Spencer doesn't write great stuff. He does. It's outstanding. But again, I like the original source stuff. To me, that has a lot more weight. The commentary is important, but some of these, one of the reasons another place I love is memory.org, MEMRI.org. I recommend that. Now, here's something else out there that I don't know if enough patriots know about. There was an article put up by St. John, and now St. John's is John Hopkins. John Hopkins had an article out on COVID-19 about how it was not a pandemic, how the amount of people who have actually died are not did not affect the normal death rate. This is actually an important article that they removed from their site as a result of people realizing it's not a pandemic. They removed it.
We talk about that here a lot, Paul, that this is not a pandemic. The numbers year over year for several years now have not changed significantly at all, which would indicate we're not having an exceptional year of any kinds of deaths. So there's no pandemic.
In fact, the death rates have gone down. That's the actual truth of it.
You're absolutely correct. They have gone down. Absolutely.
If we were in a pandemic, we would have a spike of deaths. So my son got COVID-19 because he's an ambulance medic. And so they sent him home. So he goes home for 7 days. He no longer has symptoms, and he returns to work. They said, do you have symptoms when he goes back? Do you need to test? Give me a test or anything? So they asked him, the guy who's the head says, do you have symptoms? He said, no. Go back to work. And I'm thinking, okay, why are they doing these 2-week shutdowns? And my son and I were just talking about this a week ago. He's saying, well, they're telling us that COVID-19 can stay in you for 2 weeks. I says, that's bullcrap. I says, max is about 3 days. From everything I'm learning, it's 3 days. Oh, so they changed the quarantine to 7 days. Shortly after I said that, like a day or two later, I think it was, I started laughing. How do I know this stuff? I listen, and I read, and I read, and I read. I think most of us can do this, and that's what it comes down to. We have to share this information out. If you want to follow me on Facebook or Twitter, I'm not very big on Twitter or MeWe, but I am sharing almost everything on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I have about 18,000 followers there, connections there, and Facebook. If you join my Civilization Jihad Awareness site, I don't always share my political stuff there, but I do share everything on the Wuhan virus there. This stuff is, I think Maru 9 is 100% correct. He's talking about us being manipulated and how the horror goes on. This is all about manipulation. The whole purpose of this is what I have real concerns. I don't like to be to express myself as what I would call a conspiracy theorist. I fully believe there is an intended purpose. They predicted this, quote, spike. How do you predict a spike? You can't. There's no reason to expect it. So my honest, unproven, unverified thoughts on this is that there is in some way, there is somebody purposely or somehow purposely spreading this. Evidence for this exists in one thing. When they went to claim that that COVID-19 was staying alive on things like wood and metal, what they actually did was they put this in an aerosol can. In order for this disease, for COVID-19 to live in the aerosol can, they had to provide food for COVID-19. Viruses have to consume. So they sprayed this, and they didn't tell people there was food in the stuff they were spraying this from. And so it stayed alive for days because it had food to eat. Again, this was not communicated. When it was revealed that, all of a sudden, it dies quickly. why didn't you tell us that to begin with? Because they don't want us to know this information.
Exactly. I think that's probably the first time I've heard it specified that clearly, that there was food inside the aerosol that they were testing. You don't get this information. How do you know?
And this is, I only got this information by, again, tons and tons of reading. I had to ask nurses and people who do science type work. I talked with a doctor about this particular thing, and he sat there laughing. He says he was a retired doctor, and he's just sat there laughing about how stupid people are using these masks. Because, I mean, if we're talking about COVID-19 being a pandemic, okay, masks would do nothing. I'm sorry, it would do nothing unless you're wearing a plastic mask or something, because it's so small. COVID-19 is so small, it goes through these cloth masks, period. So that would serve no purpose at all. Okay, then if you had any bare skin, again, your mask is no good. So this is the insanity of it all. I'm angry, suffering with stupidity of my King Andy, I beg of you and plead of all of you listeners, get on your knees and join me praying for the dethroning of King Andy. So the question is, someone asked, is it airborne? I will tell you, I am not a medical professional. I'm a retired educator. I am a lover of information. It is, they're using a term that really scares me when they talk about it being airborne. And I think everybody should be concerned when you hear this term, aerosol. What do we call cans that are under pressure? Aerosol cans? Okay. Every time I hear that term, I'm reminded of how they tested the COVID-19's life to begin with. There's got to be something better. I purposely will not wear a mask. I will go out to, we have a couple stores locally in Rochester, New York, the big grocery stores, where there's Wegmans here. And they said when there was a mandate to wear masks that they would not make anyone wear one. So I have yet to go into my local grocery store with a mask. I went one place where you didn't have to wear one in a more affluent area, and everybody seems to be wearing one there. And because, again, King Andy wasn't able to influence the people who run this place, I'm the only one in there without a mask. And I'm walking down the aisle, and this old lady, I'm walking by, and this lady crawls up back in the corner. She's all hiding. Behind. I refer to these networks, CNN, Fox, whatever they are, as fear networks now. Because what they do is they teach the elderly, and specifically the elderly, to fear everyone. How do you communicate with your loved ones? How do you communicate with your neighbors if you fear them? When this first happened, maybe a week in after I was able to, again, walk around after my injury when this started was my knee, an injury from last year flared up. But when I could walk around, I got outside and I'm talking to my neighbor. There was somebody who took pictures of us, sent it to the police, talking, and the police showed up, but they apparently saw me and they didn't come. I think it's hilarious. They refuse to be used to enforce stupidity. There's no law that says you can't talk to your neighbor. There's no law that says you must wear a mask when outside. The stupid people who, I'm laughing when I see this. So I saw when they started to lift the ban here in New York State. This was a crazy thing. And I still think it's funny. I don't know about your state. In this state, you can go to a restaurant. You have to wear a mask when you enter a restaurant. You have to wear it unless you're sitting down. Okay, so COVID-19 is nowhere's in the air when you're sitting down, but it's in the air when you're standing up. Yeah, this insanity.
two COVID particles go into a restaurant. They're like, no, don't bother with that guy over there. They're sitting down. Look at that guy over there standing up. We're going to go over there.
This is so silly and stupid. I don't know how people can just this is the part that gets me. How can you be so stupid that you accept this? Again, we're Americans. We're supposed to be better than this. We're supposed to not be lovers of propaganda. I want us to wake up. This is crazy. This is one of my pet peeves. How can we be this stupid as Americans? We're not supposed to be gullible. Yeah. It's my personal pet peeve. We should not be acceptors of propaganda. Democrats, I see it, are generally lovers of it. I don't know why, but they are.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what do you tell me what you think about the COVID vaccines that are coming out?
I'm actually very hesitant. I have friends that are in the medical profession, and I'm waiting to see a box at this point. There are some things I have seen. I like to verify before I call something out. I have been sent videos where there are claims that there are aborted baby parts in these vaccines. I have seen videos that say various different things. And my general statement is I need to verify any of these before I say they're true. So right. Like I say, I get this stuff. People send me a ton of stuff, and I try to thumb through it. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of am mean on my group. If you're sharing something I can't confirm, I generally delete it. Not trying to be mean. I just need something to confirm it. Right. That to me is important, that we share what's true. Now, as far as the vaccine goes, I do not believe I will get it. I look at my son. My son has had this, and what happened? I'll see. Now, my son is 20. He just turned 26. So when he had this, he coughed a little bit. He lost his sense of smell and his sense of taste. Okay. The sense of taste and sense of smell came back a little slower than he would have liked. But again, once he started to smell and taste, he's fine. He can go back to work. But what else did he have? He had an occasional fever. Okay, so most of us would have been working under these conditions. Is this less dangerous to us than the flu? Well, I actually, one of the pastors of my church actually has this now, and he's having a really hard time with it. Okay, some people need medicine. I get that. That's what we do with the flu. Sometimes we give medication to help boost fighting that. Okay, normal. Okay. So do you shut down for the flu? Absolutely not, unless you call it COVID-19. Okay, here's the other thing that's out there. You know what? Almost no one is being diagnosed with the flu today. Why? Because everything is COVID-19.
We've solved the flu epidemic. It's been cured. We no longer have flu.
I'm laughing like a fool when I hear all this. It's I've done a lot of research into some of these things, and I just sit there and ask questions. Some of these things, the amount of deaths that are on that Johns Hopkins report. This is purposeful misinformation, people, on that site. Purposeful. CDC revealed only 6% of the number that was originally posted there had actually died of COVID-19. Did Johns Hopkins change their statistic? No. Wait a minute. Can you consider Johns Hopkins a scientific-based collection site? No. If they refuse to communicate what's actually true, why would you send your child? Why would you go to that particular university for anything related to science if they will not communicate what is factually true.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the federal government needs to revoke every single federal grant to that organization, just like they did to the CDC, just like they did to WHO. By the way, Biden has promised to start relationships with WHO and China and everything else should he actually become inaugurated. I have to pray that doesn't happen.